But there's so much to see and so many people to talk to. I just have to talk to them all. So yeah, this is our Astropathic choir, of which many of the seats are empty, likely due to dangers of the warp as we were traveling through. The throne is furnished with a conductive charge supply and can be turned into an instrument of execution at any moment. Well, that's dark. But I suppose they are fearful that an astropath might get into something warpy or heretical. So they're just set up that if an astropath loses control, just kill him. Chapel Servant. Logic test here. Who's talking? Oh, Adira. Oh, they're staring at me with the burnt eyes like I'm a leper. I'm just passing through, alright, so you lot can calm down. We'll just do the logic test rather than wasting a resource. I don't know what resource that would be, but one of our equipments. Hello? Someone... Do I have to... I assume that uses a consumable item. We go to our inventory. Multi-key is for lockpicking. Machine right set. Any machine spirit interact with the device? Melta charges, no. I'm assuming it's would be us using the machine right set, but we've got 3 of those and it's showing a 1. We'll do a quick save just to see what it does. Okay, logic test succeeded. It did not use an item. Base 40, logic plus 33, plus 30. So Argenta's logic is 33. What's the 40? Or is the 40 her intelligence? Then she has a 33 logic, giving her 73, and then the difficulty gave her plus 30. Trying to figure out how these rolls work. Or, yeah. So she's got a 33 in logic. Her intelligence is 30, not 40. What's the base 40 then? You give me any info. No. Because I would think it would be logic plus intelligence. Unless logic is not based on intelligence. I didn't actually pay attention to that. Logic is intelligence based. I don't know. Alright, well, what did you learn? The machine uses its many quills to commit the astropath's whispers to paper, then sorts the resulting raw mental images based on their meaning. Yeah, so the astropathic choir is used to send and receive messages from other astropathic choirs faster than light. The messages go through the warp, through psychic energy. So, very useful to maintain the Imperium, but very dangerous because you're relying on psykers, very powerful psykers, as a group. So if something goes wrong, it can go very wrong. Back of the throne is smeared with something dark red and old. Yeah, that would be someone's brains. Or potentially just blood. We'll grab these goods. Looks like it's just sellable stuff. So we'll just throw it all in the cargo. So far, no one to talk to. Like, no one named. Let's pick up these goods. Okay, we've got someone up front to talk to. Chapel Servant, Chapel Servant. The last beacon cannot be saved from the 13th storm. The last father's beloved son will open his yawning maw. Oblivion is inevitable. After the boundless sunset comes the horrific sunrise, brought forth into the wailing world from the womb of... Yeah, you apparently received a heretical message and lost control. We'll check this side before we look at that. Whatever it is. No one's dying over here.
It's about time.
Alright, what do we have here? Underneath the grill, you can see enormous outlines of formidable machines in a greenish haze. Chapel Servant, Astropath. Okay, so these must be like the higher ranking Astropaths, given that they're in very different set of thrones. The voices blend in an unnatural unison. The longer you listen to the choral chant, the stronger your headache grows.
I won't tolerate weakness.
It's interesting for us as a psyker to be in a room full of astropaths where we haven't trained to be an astropath, but maybe we can feel some of that psychic energy. Wonder what the one means. I don't know. Give it another shot, Argenta.
I better myself through my service.
The receiver's enormous reels direct paper tapes containing unprocessed text into the chapel's depths after blessing the paper with an imprint of sacred cogs. And again, the same base logic and difficulty. Oh, we have another named person here. Sigma AR87. We'll want to talk to you as well in a moment.
Never doubt me.
Once the text is ready for final interpretation, the compiler sends it to the choir master along with a list of meanings for the known images. So I guess that means astropathic communication is not specifically words, but it's actually images that they are collecting. Cool. Let's talk to this front guy first. Oh, I didn't look at these either. An endless stream of symbols fills the paper tapes. The deceased navigator's organ repurposed for the choirmaster's needs. Here's where processed messages converge from all over the chapel. Huh. Zacchary Weisz. Choirmaster Zacchary Weisz, a tall man in a long green robe, stands motionless in front of a cogitator. The closer you approach, the clearer you can hear his continuous unintelligible whisper. You are about to call his name when he falls silent sharply and turns towards you first. Lord Captain. A visit from the rogue trader is an honor for us. Like other astropaths in the chapel, the choirmaster's eyes are bandaged over with time-worn scrolls of sacred manuscripts. Nevertheless, you cannot shake the feeling that his otherworldly, glowing gaze is studying you keenly. How can I be of use, your lordship? Lord Imperium test succeeded. Sanctioning is a brutal procedure, one which robs every astropath of the gift of sight, but in return they gain a new kind of vision that allows them to see what ordinary people cannot. That's true. Astropaths are always blinded by the process, but they get a second sight that allows them to see around them using their psychic ability. The light emanating from beneath the bandages flickers with strange hues as the choirmaster clutches his temple. His expression shifts in a way you are well familiar with. It is the look of one who has glimpsed the grim signs that evil has left upon your soul. Again, from our starting choices. Did my nightmares scald you? Okay, this is again... If it tells us that we'll speak later, I assume that means I can ask all of the questions. So I will start at the top as usual, and we'll work our way down. Oh, did my nightmares scald you? My apologies, your lordship. I sensed a strangeness in you, and my mind reached out of its own accord. I did not see much, but what I did see was enough. It grieves me to know that this mark weighs on you. So. Trust me, I am well acquainted with the oppressive burden of doom. Remind me, who are you? The wrinkled face and drooping corners of the mouth look focused yet courteous at the same time. My name is Zacchary Weisz, your lordship. I'm the choir master of the Astropathic choir. I was posted to this ship soon after my soul-binding ritual on Holy Terra. You might say I have been serving House von Valentius all my life. Have you made a confession lately? Okay. So that must be tied to us looking at the confessionals to try and work out who the confessions are. Okay. I suppose there's no harm in asking. I'm curious how it'll go. The choir master replies, slightly perplexed. I beg your lordship's pardon. The orphans on this ship have already been provided with the bare essentials, have they not? Or why are some destined to perish in the warp while others must go on living? Well, we think the orphans in the ship is specifically the high factotum. Why are some destined to perish in the warp while others must go on living? How odd. He grimaces as though with pain. Odd that you should have listened to my confession, and odd that you should choose to approach me afterward. Why? Wow, so it was in fact him. Okay, that was pretty quick to find. I felt there was anguish in that confession. I wanted to help. I was worried the maker of that confession might be dangerous. Explain yourself. No. I was led by curiosity. So what was your confession about? No, I'm gonna go with the top one. I felt there was anguish in that confession. I wanted to help. My confession made you anxious on my account, resulting in a waste of your time, for which I apologize. I am thankful for your consideration. He smiles a bittersweet smile. Death always keeps close to astropaths, and its punishments for arrogance and weakness are severe. I've seen my fellows die, and at times the memories are exceedingly hard to bear. Sadly, almost every choir has a story like that, and a survivor who has carried their ghosts with them ever since. Weisz lets out a ragged breath. My apologies, but I cannot continue worrying at these old wounds. Directing a choir requires a clear and firm state of mind. How did you like serving under Lady Theodora? I served her for 2 decades, and never knew another Lord Captain before your ascension. With her, I had been through... The choirmaster falls silent as though briefly transported in his mind to another place. A shadow of regret creeps onto his face. Many things. Lady Theodora has a good understanding of my significance within the overall mechanism of the ship's services. Poorly concealed irritation creeps into the expression of regret on his face, which, however, did not stop her from neglecting my warnings. I am confused, so how old are you? If my calculations are correct, having factored in our movements through the warp, then I turned 34 a month and a half ago. There's a pause. You can't quite decide if the old man in front of you is joking, but there is not the slightest hint of a smile on his face. Tell me about the Astropathic choir. Of course, your Lord Captain. Is there something specific you would like to know? What is this place? To us astropaths, this place is our cradle and our grave, Lord Captain. You are at the conflux of every secret missive, every order of prime importance, every scheme being plotted behind the scenes. You're at a place where each of your loyal astropaths is ready to lay down their life for crumbs of information, if that is your wish. We receive and send messages for hours, turning into days. We wander the dark depths of the Imperium, carrying our voice through the warp's eternal nights, bringing it to our comrades in some remote refuge, accepting the voices, signals, and missives of others into our own abode. Those are most often meant for you, your lordship, and at times they are meant for no one. Point to the mechanical drum. What device is this? Ah, that. It is a sacred compiler that helps us record, store, and, to an extent, unriddle messages. The astropaths first receive these messages in the form of muddled images, dictating what they see to the machine, which logs their every word. From the reels of the receiver on the ceiling, the machine-recorded words are routed through lines under the floor into transcribers and then the thesaurus core. This core is the most important part of the mechanism, as it contains a vast catalog of various symbols and the methods of their interpretation. The compiler matches the images in the message against its data and forwards the results to the central cogitator and myself so that I can begin the ritual of decoding. I know of no other choir that possesses so wise a mechanism, and I praise the God Emperor for its existence. However, while the compiler hastens the extraction of intelligible meaning from perplexing imagery, an astropath must still open their mind to interpretation, which is no less perilous than the rites of receiving or sending an astropathic message. If your machine knows the meaning of the symbols, why can't it decode the message itself? Regrettably for us all, your lordship, astropathic messages are not ciphered dispatches, but rather psychic imprints containing information. Only an astropath can read the entirety of something created through the medium of the warp. Further, as messages pass through the Imperium, they might become distorted by malevolent intent. It falls to your servants alone to shield their mind with faith and separate the true meaning from the influence of the ruinous powers. So if you wanted to hide certain information from me, you could? Weisz face twists into a bitter grimace. My duty is to shield you from the monstrous communications that filter through the warp. The screams of the Emperor's loyal servants, centuries dead by now, the nightmarish, maddening images of the Sea of Souls, the cursed symbols that cause astropaths to convulse in violent fits of frenzy, the messages from abominations in search of weak minds to devour. Concealing all of that from you is my duty. How does one become an astropath? Weisz gives you a polite smile. I would assume that you know the answer already, your lordship. You have walked a similar road yourself, even though you took a different turn than I. Yeah, so as a psyker, we were sanctioned on Terra. I don't know what the difference is of how they decide who will become a astropath and who is going to be trained as effectively a battle psyker, because that's what most psykers are. Trained in some form of more militant combat use. Yeah, unsure of why. Obviously, we weren't turned into an astropath. But I feel like having that ability to receive messages and also that second sight could be useful. But I assume we can't just sign on for that option now, many years later. We were all part of the Imperial Tithe once, psykers delivered to Terra on the black ships, but only a few of the candidates had what it took to study astropathy. Fewer still successfully completed the grueling training to be eligible for soulbinding, and almost none survived the initiation. He throws his head back. We were given the privilege to behold the Emperor's light, a light flawless and searing. A pious smile visits his lips. That changes you. It wounds you irreparably. It takes your eyesight, but in exchange, you commune with greatness. His presence in our souls fortifies them as we stand against malicious powers. That's true. I do remember reading that. They lose their eyes specifically by gazing on the Emperor's light, and it burns out their eyes. As part of the astropathic sanctioning process. After the ritual, as astropaths, an astropath is assigned to their position at this or the Adeptus, an astropathic relay, or a ship. More often than not, our first place of service is also our last. If something happens to your choir, where can I find new astropaths? The expression on his wrinkled face grows even more serious. It would be more on point to say when something happens. The Emperor's blessing protects us from the warp's various influences. However, there are horrors dwelling in the void, for which even this defense would be no obstacle, especially if one spends as much time in their company as we do. There is only one way to procure astropaths, and that is through the Adeptus Administratum. Luck permitting, unattached astropaths from the sector will be posted to the ship, ones who, for whatever reason, have lost their place of service. Failing that, the request will go to Terra, and we will have to wait a long time. That said, there are other options, blasphemous forbidden options, the choirmaster grimaces, unsanctioned psykers, unprotected and broken souls who seldom live past their first few seances. But even those would do, should the God Emperor put our souls through severe trials, and judging by how rabid the warp has been of late, by the number of dead astropaths, those trials will be upon us sooner than our prayers could reach Terra. I know a couple of places where you can get new astropaths, Adira grins maliciously. That's of course if you don't insist on them being all classy and proper like this fried-eyed bunch. I would like to discuss other topics. I'm listening carefully, Lord Captain. That noise inside the chapel, does it not bother you? On the contrary, Lord Captain, it is a mental focusing technique used by your flagship's choir, one that I invented myself. This music was written by an astropath. What my charges and I hear in it is not what ordinary people hear. Its true depth and beauty cannot be fathomed without the Emperor's blessing. The music protects our minds from rudimentary thoughts, purifies and sharpens them, but above all else, it serves as a beacon of sorts amid the tumultuous sea of souls, a thread to lead us home from the deadly maze. Interesting. So, again, lore that I know of that I'm assuming is correct. So, typically, the astropaths are intentionally shown the light of Terra, the Emperor, so that they can, which is the process of being blinded, all that, but it's so that they can see it in the warp. And I am correct, right? I'm thinking of astropaths? Yeah. No, maybe I'm thinking of navigators. One of them is, there's the Emperor's presence is so broad and vast that they call it the Astronomicon, which is able to be seen from anywhere in space. And it's supposed to be the beacon, but maybe that is navigators that use the Emperor himself as their beacon to guide through the warp, not astropaths. Yeah, I don't remember. I've got the lore somewhat down, but there's obviously many pieces I'm missing. I've witnessed the depth of one of your astropaths. What happened? The choir master sighs and makes the sign of the Aquila. May the god emperor rest his soul and protect him from the ruinous power's tenacious claws. That was the 5th one this month. Our younger voices cannot handle the warp storms raging in the expanse and end up losing their minds. He adds barely audibly, if they are lucky. Something is afoot on the other side of the maw, Lord Captain. Something infinitely sinister, something disastrous. The scraps of mental images that reach us from the Imperium carry the mark of doom. The images emanating from there are like a beast baring its teeth. Lore warp test succeeded. 115% chance. You've heard accounts of disturbances in the warp affecting psykers, especially astropaths who delved most deeply into the Imperium. But there have been more and more alarming stories of late. Something is raging in the warp, something that poses a particular threat to those with psychic powers. Okay, and we don't have Iconoclast. Okay, Iconoclast follower. Before, when we saw that, we assumed that it must mean it was talking about one of our followers has to be Iconoclast. But we recently saw the Iconoclast dash some other term that I don't remember, and I assumed that that was referring to a rank. Now that I'm seeing it spelled out like this, the same, I think that is in fact talking about the rank of that specific devotion. So they must have specific names. And so you have to have been that rank of Iconoclast to use this option. Makes sense. We'll speak later, Choir Master. I have business to attend to. Goodbye, your lordship. The Choir Master follows you with his otherworldly, glowing gaze as you leave and turns back to the cogitator. Alright, and we had some sort of tech priest back here. Sigma AR-87. Ooh, we look at this. The mechanism rotates steadily, adding dry clicking notes from the chapel's melody to the chapel's melody every time a manipulator catches against one of the dents on the drum. Astropath, protect us from the machine spirit's unrest, for without his gifts, our sacrifices are fruitless. You can barely hear the voice of the young astropath standing very still next to the bulky mechanism, his face frozen in a mask of despair. His anemic hands are pressed to his chest, clutching crumpled strips of thick paper. He hears you approach and composes himself. Are we talking to the astropath? I thought we were talking to the tech priest. Sigma AR-87. The engine seer, his head lowered, does not so much as glance in your direction. With his hands folded underneath his robe, he makes a barely audible, unpleasant sound, a prayer in the technolingua. A collection of dialects used by the Adeptus Mechanicus and his tech priests can be used as a spoken language with audible bursts or as a machine code with electrical signals. I believe Technolinga is binary, that they're actually speaking a quick blast of binary signals. Could be wrong about that. What is going on here? The sacred compiler is ailing, your lordship. A gloom has come over the machine spirits. They are disrupting the mechanism's operation. The 12th row of the drum is now adding incorrect symbols. The man shows you a stack of papers, and you notice at once that the rows of squiggles in each line all end with the same glyph. We summoned the servants of the Omnissiah, but the machine spirits are none too eager to heed their prayers. The esteemed engine seer is in a state of tech prayer trance and hasn't moved from the spot for a day now. He shrinks his head into his shoulders timidly. I had the audacity to think the sacred compiler could be better helped by examining its parts, but who am I to question the secret knowledge of the Adeptus Mechanicus? Why such a trifle of an error? Did you let this happen? Let us see if there's any way I can help. Get everything working fast, or all of you will be demoted to the lower decks. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a trifle of an error. Technolingua probably sounds like a dial-up modem. Yes, probably true. The idea of just being able to speak that, but they do have tons of cybernetic implants. Like, they dislike their own flesh and are constantly trying to upgrade themselves to be more and more machine. So maybe most of them do receive implants that allows them to speak dial-up modem. I'm not going to call the error a trifle. If we're getting incorrect astropathic messages, that's bad. I'm not going to blame him. Let us see if is any way I can help. Merciful Emperor, hear my prayers. Compiler at the Astropathic Chapel has been malfunctioning. Okay. Compiler at the Astropathic Chapel has been malfunctioning. The astropaths are in sore need of help, and the rogue trader may wish to provide it. Fix the issues affecting the chapel's machinery. The mechanism that permeates the entire chapel has been malfunctioning. Every issue causing the problem must be identified and resolved. Okay. So we just have to make all of the kills. Do I save scum it? This one says it's faulty, so that's probably as good a place to start as any. Let's put down a save. We only have a 63%, and that's not great odds.
I rise to the occasion.
Oh, let's scroll down as usual. Succeeded. And we took the test. The sensors on the text correcting calibrator are dead. A prayer to the Omnisci makes the new sensors spring to life. Okay, we've already used that. So then another quick save. Do another tech use. Tech use is not our forte. If only we had a tech priest as part of our party.
Matters.
We succeeded again. Go us. Once clean of the candle wax that had seeped inside, the inner workings of the interpreter move much more easily. They have this giant pile of candles that are apparently dripping wax into the machine, clogging it up. Brilliant.
Victory awaits.
Grumbling receiver router.
Done.
That's 363% checks in a row. That's not how statistics work. It totally is. It's the point of random chance, but we got lucky. Scraps of paper are stuck deep inside the mechanism, causing it to rattle terribly. Cleaning the machine's parts and anointing them with sacred unguents restores the machine to its clear, clanging voice. Are there any other
About time.
things that are malfunctioning that we can spot? Or was it just those three? I suspect we don't need to go like super far back to check things, but I don't actually know that for sure. We already looked at that, right? Yeah. Well, let's go back to this more central area. Yes, there is more. Faulty transcriber manipulators. Can we get a fourth one in a row at 63%?
This cannot be.
Ah, there we go. The wax thing hurt you? How so? Just having wax on top of your machinery is dripping down into the machines, and then questioning why they stopped working? Try again.
I did fine.
Thank you. So we did have a fail. It's a shame. The transcriber's quills are leaving blots on the paper. You remove the device's casing and discover a leaking ink supply hose. I mean, that's a lot of things that were all going wrong all at once. But if we're lucky, something that we're doing might actually reduce the number of dying tech priests. Or, not tech priests, astropaths. Okay, I don't think any of these are tests. Okay. I think that's everything. So let's go back and see if we've made things better.
A new challenge
Well,
for me?
Tech Priest is still working, so maybe not. We can't talk to them yet, which makes me think we might have missed something. Also, our journal didn't update, did it? It's not pointing us to anywhere specific to check out. Okay, maybe... No, so those are the things we've already dealt with. And we dealt with one of these, but not both, I don't think. So let's go back and see if we can find the other one we missed. Yes. Malfunctioning cogitator. There we go.
I rise to the occasion.
That's not bad. We messed up once out of 5 checks. Well done, Ignatius. The miniature screens are displaying red error messages. You command the machine to run a diagnostic and the messages disappear. You perform the holy rite of turning it off and on again.
I'll lay claim to the stars.
Alright. Let's talk now. Your lordship, the astropath smiles at you. The shy, awkward smile of someone unused to smiling. The sacred mechanism is working again with no disruptions. With a trembling hand, the psyker hands you a strip of paper with smooth rows of etched characters, this time containing no errors. The engineer rises proudly to his feet and says in low Gothic, a language he clearly has not had much practice in, with sacred words and various thoughts turned toward the God Emperor, I have been able to pacify the mechanism's wayward spirits. The Omnissiah blesses. Should rather say that it was my efforts that helped make the machine operational. How lucky we are that a venerable tech priest is so pious and wise. So what now? Interesting that he's willing to say that, like, he had to turn his thoughts towards the God Emperor, which is clearly not where he usually keeps his focus, because he recognized the God Emperor and the Omnissiah are different. I mean, I could point out that we helped, but meh. I'm just gonna move on. So what now? I recommend installing 2 incense burning units in the compartment to prevent the spirit's continued anger. The unit Zacchary Weisz will be provided with a list of minor recommendations, 142 in total, for improvements to the compartment's maintenance. Failure to implement will result in sanctions on the part of the Adeptus Mechanicus priesthood. Well, thanks, Sigma. Well, we have resolved that quest.
Victory awaits.
And I think that's everything in this compartment. So lastly is the Lord Captain's quarters, which should be basically empty, and we've already been there, so hopefully there's not a lot to check out. And then we'll finally move on. Oh, we are by ourselves here. So yeah, there's not going to be, hopefully, any major checks or anything, since they took away all of our partners that would be able to help us with the tests. Link your account? Ugh. That just opened a browser. No. Wanted me to link to some sort of Owlcat account. Like, I appreciate it, but no. The parlor organ seems to have been sitting idle for many years. Let's try to play it, I suppose. cool, I guess. Bookshelves are packed with ancient books, piles of papers and tomes. I don't remember how much of this I read before. Like glinting off a polished skull of some unknown xenos makes it seem like the bony face is mocking you. Ticking of the clock is too quiet for its bulky size. Let's open the vault. So here's where we can see our cargo. I wonder if I'd bought the like deluxe edition or whatever, that probably has some minor gifts for buying the deluxe edition, if this is where they would show up. Lord Captain's personal cogitator, that's the owlcat symbol. So is that also going to open up a web page? No, it's showing me the Shrine of Remembrance. I wonder if this game I know their first two games were kickstarted. Well, I know the first game that they put out, Pathfinder Kingmaker, was kickstarted. I assume Wrath of the Righteous was also kickstarted, and it wouldn't surprise me if this game was as well. And this is where all of the people who paid into it. Or this could be developers? Although some of these are clearly not names, they're, yeah, usernames. So I don't think this would be developers. I don't know. It's definitely credits of some sort. Anything else of interest? Position of the pieces on the board suggests this game of regicide was interrupted. The winner was never determined. Glint of the displayed weapons is mesmerizing. You've never seen many of these articles before. Fine sculpture made from a strange metal seems to absorb any rays of light that fall upon it. Liturgies of the Faithful to his word and name. The text below this solemn reading looks noticeably noticeably faded. It appears that the prayer book has been kept open on this page for a very long time. Yeah, it seems pretty clear that Theodore was not religious. Bizarre fragment hung on a trophy board. The light, smooth surface of the object is dotted with dark spots and crumbling holes. Here's the super bath that we saw before. We've got a dude in here. Master of Ablutions. Would you like to take a bath, your lordship? Apparently, yes. Wow, so this is what being a rogue trader is all about. We've got a giant bath and servants ready to provide a meal for us while we're taking a bath. This soothing water caresses your senses, and your grateful muscles welcome the chance to rest. A pleasant languor spreads through your body as you allow yourself a moment of quiet relaxation. Relax and close your eyes. Address the Master of Ablutions. I wish to see someone from my retinue. Call up our chosen favorite. Hey, can you get the Sister of Battle up here while I'm taking a bath? Thanks. I didn't see you turn a page in that book. That's true. Our character also did not turn the page. Address the enforcers. You two, get in here. I require company and pleasant conversation. I'm just gonna finish. We don't need anyone to join us in our bath. You feel revitalized. This was truly an experience worthy of a rogue trader. Huh. Well, that's a thing. I assume that this game probably has romance, and so we can invite a romance person to take a bath with us, maybe? Beyond the glass, the distant stars glimmer in the darkness of endless space, filling you with an odd sense of dread. What do we have here? Unfinished letter. Can I read it? Okay, add it to our inventory. Can I read it from here? Usually you can right-click to see a full... Is that info? There it is. His chagrin is irrelevant. Votvier's mistake cost me too much. Years of work, tremendous resources, all wasted. He has failed at what he was supposed to be irreproachable at, uncovering spies, and this one was a senior officer. I'm not about to discard him. Kunrad has served me for too long for his removal to go painlessly for the Protectorate. Besides, he is no fool. He could not have seriously expected to become the next in the von Valancius line when his skills and talents as Master of Whispers are so valuable. Let his disinheritance serve as a humiliating but instructive lesson from which he may yet learn. I'm going to hold on to that rather than just throwing it into cargo. It's a more personal item. What do we have here? Cracked data slate. A bunch of binary. N872-04. The final transactions of the Chartist are complete. The Fiery Reckoning is now fully equipped. More random binary. The object has been loaded aboard with its containment intact, placed in the forebay to ensure maximum contact with the target. Coordinates sent and received by the bridge. Binary. Target estimate. Time of arrival in the system. The Fiery Reckoning is crewed by a servitor. Hive. Chance of the ship returning are minimal. Estimated time. I don't know. Fiery Reckoning sounds like a ship. You know, being crewed. Don't know. I don't think any of that is connected to anything we've seen so far, unless it's related to what happened that got Theodora killed. But I will hold on to it in case we come across something that does connect to. Hey, we should replace her portrait with our own, obviously. Hefty Tome contains schematics of the flagship of House von Valancius, in addition to a plethora of notes, copies of reports, and other documents. This majestic portrait, painted by a skilled artist, greets guests who have been granted permission to enter the Lord Captain's quarters. A coat of arms of House von Valancius is crowned with a text of the Oath of Rogue Traders, the Emperor's faithful servants. Okay. I think that's all there is to see here in the Rogue Traders' quarters.